Hey, this is Pat, and today we are checking out the latest generation of the Simpson Outlaw Bandit helmet. Now, if you're not familiar, the Outlaw Bandit helmet is one of the most badass looking helmets out there on the market, and it has been for the better part of a decade since Simpson brought it over, and it's inspired by a lot of the Simpson auto racing helmets out there. I get a lot of Stig vibes, with the exception of the scrunched forehead up here. Get a lot of Stig vibes from this helmet, and I always have. It's always been a helmet that had a lot of style behind it that matched with a little bit of performance, a little bit of features in there, which was why I always liked Simpson. But Simpson has been making helmets since 1979. They've been a brand since 1959, and they've been pumping out a lot of really cool styles of helmets. Some of the other Bandits within the line never really did it for me, but I really dig the Outlaw style, and I always have. I've had a few of these in the past, so I love seeing that this latest third generation is coming out with a couple key updates, mostly just being the pivot system on the side, which I think is a massive leap forward. Again, if you're looking at this helmet, it's not going to be the most technologically advanced model out there. It's not a showy X15, it's not a MotoGP level helmet, but what it does do is look badass and at the same time protect your head in the event of an accident. So what more can you ask for? These are coming in at the $550 price point, which is on par with what we saw from the carbon version that launched a few months ago. But again, the main construction of this helmet, just working our way through it, this is going to be a tri-composite shell using a lot of fiberglass and other materials built into it. So it's not a plastic polycarb shell. It's not going to be a carbon fiber, but it is using a lot of different fiberglass materials in there to build a pretty strong helmet that is reaching Snell certification. Now, it is only going to be the M2020. I have talked to Simpson. They are going for the 2025 certification. Whether it actually comes to this model or if we see another one in the near future, that's still up in the air. But one thing I just want to call out, it is 2020, which again is okay for me, judging that this is more of a style points helmet out there with a lot of those safety features built in. I'm not too upset about it. If this was the leading, innovator when it comes to safety for a MotoGP level helmet, I'd be thinking a different way. But again, this is mostly style points for a helmet that, just like I said before, looks generally badass. $550 for this one. Again, that fiberglass tri-composite shell. It is 3 shell sizes, and it is an intermediate oval head shape. It's a little bit longer front to back than it is side to side, and that's where I think the biggest update is coming for most riders out there. The fact that this helmet is a little bit more intermediate oval than the neutral ovals we've seen from the older models, just getting it a little bit closer to what most riders in the US market are gonna have. And one thing I always had an issue with was the fitment on this, just being that the chin bar was so close to the rider. They've given it a little bit of extension, not much, but you do notice it on the inside, just a little bit more space between your face and the front of the helmet. And again, not changing the overall shape, I'm not changing the overall sizing. A medium still fits spot on like a medium should. 3 pounds, 6 ounces. I mentioned before, it is 3 shell sizes. That's extra small to small, medium and large, and then extra large up to 2 extra large is that last and final third shell size. But again, the overall internal head shape fit going to intermediate oval, as well as giving a little bit more space in the jawline without adding too much space everywhere else, is one of the biggest updates I've seen. When we're looking at the overall shape and design of the helmet, again, auto racing inspired, looks awesome. Huge flat piece up at the front with the vents on the side, the 6 total vents, 3 on each side that you cannot close. Those go directly into the face. You can't turn them off in the winter. I would love to see maybe a trigger underneath. We saw that with the Simpson Mod Bandit, a trigger that you can close it from the inside so it doesn't throw off the lines on the exterior. Would have loved to seen that, but at the same time, those 3 strips look badass on each side, something that a lot of other brands have tried and stolen the idea of and made it look cool in their helmets, but I think Simpson still takes the cake when it comes to it. Nice straight jawline there. A little bit of a hawksbill on the side, so a little bit more space for your collarbone if you're riding in more of a full tuck, or if you just have ape hangers and it's something that your shoulders are a little bit higher, that's going to give you a little bit more relief from the helmet so it's not bunching into there. One thing you'll also notice, just looking at the front, is the Simpson stickers on there. They are all removable, so it's not something you have to stick with the Simpson branding, something I always thought was cool from them. They understand they're trying to brand. They are a company out there. They're trying to let other people know what badass helmet is on your head. But if you don't want that on there, if you just want to go with a streamlined style, you can just remove them. They are just stickers sitting on the outside. They're not underneath of a clear coat like we see from most brands out there. One of the most notable features of the shell is just this eyebrow texture going up at the front, like almost like an angry eyebrow. That's what you're gonna see up at the front, no top vents or anything, and a nice ridged, reinforced back of the shell, but otherwise a clean shell. No exhaust vents on the back of the helmet. Air is just gonna be coming out of the back of the bottom, not through a vent system, but again, there's not too much intake vents coming through the front, so just keep that in mind. But I mentioned it in the beginning of this video, the biggest update comes from the new pivot system on the side. They're now using a pretty sleek design on the side. It was screws before, door, it still remains as a screw to open and close, but what they've given you is reinforced detents. And when I say they're reinforced, these things, if you ride at the highway, I was riding about 60, 70 miles an hour with sunglasses on, so I didn't need the shield down on a hot day. It was something that they did not move or budge whatsoever. So I like that they've reinforced them. Gives you another added style factor for the shield. It did fit sunglasses in there just fine. They were still wobbling around on top of my head, but they do have larger arms on there. Prescription glasses should be even better of a fit to get them to stay in place. Just keep that in mind. The bigger the sunglasses, typically the harder to fit in most helmets out there, and the Simpson is no exception there. If I spin it around to this side, you can actually see the lifting tab for that shield on there, and it just goes right into the pin on the side just to make sure that it locks down. Again, very simple technology for a helmet that is designed for mostly looks, but also to protect you. One thing I'll say is at highway speeds, I can kind of hear this lip does, if I turn it a little bit for our camera guy, does have a little bit of a lip there, so your finger can grab, which is awesome, but it does create a little bit of wind turbulence coming off there that you can hear. It was one of those things, I couldn't hear anything on this side when I was trying to adjust and turn around. As soon as I noticed that it was that one, I could cover it with a hand and immediately stop the noise. So just keep that in mind. It does add a little bit, but it does make it 10 times easier for lifting up. And the shield itself is just a flat 3mm thick shield. Not many brands out there are doing 3mm thickness because it does mess with the optics of the shield, so you're seeing through of the shield. But I like that they are, again, auto racing inspired. It's a very reinforced. If anything jumps up, it's going to hit that, and this shield isn't going to go anywhere. It might actually hurt the rock that jumps up and hits you instead of hurting the shield on there just because of how thick it is. And again, you can always swap out the shield. That's what they're known for. They have gold, iridium. They usually have dark smoke. They have a plethora of different colors out there, so you can really customize the fit and even the color. I have the white up here. I have the gloss, or I'm sorry, the matte black on my left, as well as the gloss gray over here on the right. And I think they all look fantastic. And Simpson always does great graphics to match the rest of the helmets out there. But let's start talking about the interior on here. Take a peek at it in there. Let me just get this cheek pad out. One thing I will say, it's all Velcro mounted. So it's gonna be female Velcro on the back of the cheek pads with the male counterpart on the inside of the head. And what's nice about that is you do have a little bit of movement. So if the cheek pad's sitting in the wrong area, you can kind of slightly move it around. It doesn't have much contour to it, but it has a lot of padding in there. So it's gonna be something that breaks in over time. Keep that in mind. If you are, shopping for your size, confused about it, I would not size up in this helmet. I'd actually size down if you are between sizes, just because of how thick these cheek pads are. It's really gonna break in once you start sweating and the foam starts relaxing to your face over time. Again, there's the other side. I'll remove the top liner, which is it is Velcro in the rear, just like we saw on the cheek pads, but then it's using a brow mount on the front. So something that's gonna mount into the shell, not give you any pressure points like snaps or anything like that, which is what we always look to avoid, but something that just easily pops into the top of the helmet with a great 3D design to the top layer for the foam. It's gonna be comfortable. It's gonna flow a ton of air on there. But the one gripe I have is it's cool that you can adjust the cheek pads with that Velcro, but you do have a lot of male facing Velcro facing your face inside there. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure that those cheek pads are nice and lined up, because if this stuff hits your face, that's going to hurt. That's going to scratch your face up. We usually generally see with Velcro, we recommend that brands go opposite. So the male is facing away from your face, so you get the softer material if it does hit your face, but it is very aggressive material in there. There's no speaker pockets within the helmet, but plenty of space to mount it in there. Just keep in mind that generally means the speaker is going to be pushing into your head when it comes to space-wise. So make sure you have extra space in there. If you're bigger, wider head, or if you have larger ears, keep that in mind. It might be something you need to go with earbuds or something like in that same category. Deep channels in the EPS, really when I was riding in this, I did not feel like it was overly hot. It was an 85-degree day when I was out testing this helmet. It wasn't overly hot or anything. It wasn't the coolest helmet out there, but again, I had the face shield open, just running sunglasses in there, but the channels within the helmet were really able to flow that air throughout the rest of the lid and really cool me off on the inside. Again, meeting that Snell 2020 standard, you can actually see the sticker just inside of there. For our camera guy, just inside there, that's the Snell 2020 sticker for the motorcycle certification. I'd love to see a 2025, seeing that it launched last year. I'd love to see Simpson upgrade that, but I'd also think I'd rather they keep the 2020 and not take away from the overall style of the helmet, keeping that protection in there, but the style itself is really why most riders, I think, will be looking at this lid. We've seen this helmet, again, for the better part of a decade. It is always one of the perennial favorites. It's always an awesome thing, and I think it gives a badass Stig vibe from Top Gear for you riding out there if you're on a cafe cruiser, just a classic bike, or really even just a commuter bike. I think it looks badass in all the scenarios. But if you have more questions on this helmet, click that info button. That's gonna take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about this lid. Don't just take my word for it. If you still have questions after that, feel free to give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up on your next ride. I wanna thank you for joining me to check out the 3rd generation of the Simpson Outlaw Bandit helmet. I'm Pat. I'll see you in the next video.